Welcome back to On Right Podcast. You have Elijah here alongside Grant. We're going to hop right into it. March Madness, go blue. See Grant over there rocking amazing blue. We're into the Sweet 16. We said that was, the first major hurdle milestone that we wanted to reach in order to call this a successful year. But now that we're here, I know I'm kind of hungry for more. I would love to see him put it together again.
Yeah,
I kind of want to see your thoughts on this. How the team is pulled together. Uh,
yeah,
got Juwan back running the show. Just kind of, what's your thoughts on everything now that we're, the first weekend of March Madness is over?
yeah. No, I definitely was pretty concerned after they blew that 17-point lead to Indiana in the Big Ten championship. As far as how they was going to respond, and they responded by starting down 15 points to Colorado State in the first round. But no, I'm just impressed as far as like how Frankie Collins. I mean, I'm pretty sure he had like not even like 24 hours notice before he kind of realized he was going to be starting the next game. He's a gamer.
Yeah.
And I think he's definitely going to be one of them guys where he's going to be like add on that list of like great point guards Michigan's had like the last like 15 years. I like, yeah, I just feel like he comes in super aggressive, run and just runs the show like very comfortably. Like he just feels, it just felt like he's done it before. And on top of that, he didn't even play basketball last year, like in high school, because wherever he was at, they didn't have a season. So yeah, for him to kind of come in and just be able to take over the way he did really impressed me. But I'm laughing because I was looking at the text. I was sending the text message where I said like we can beat Tennessee, but then 2 seconds later I was just like, let me shut up because like like you said too, like we can beat everybody, we can lose anybody. So I just love how they responded against Colorado State. Obviously they're the bigger team, stronger team, more physical team in that sense. And then, Tennessee, they took a couple haymakers. It was pretty close all game. But I just love like how Juwan, made adjustments on the fly, and this is with, pretty much like Devontae Jones came in and was struggling and they had to kind of pull him and, you make a game plan expecting the player to be there and you have to just kind of double back and like, make adjustments after that player's, basically ruled out or we kind of saw like how, he was kind of out of it and not really ready to play. And yeah, everything from Hunter Dickinson just taking over, Eli Brooks, just kind of like, yeah, that's I'm just
22.
glad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just glad that like to see the ball in his hands more, kind of like in crunch time, and kind of been critical of him just because he's a fifth year guy, oldest guy on the team, probably. Kind of inconsistent throughout the year, but I was glad to see that he's playing like the best ball, probably of his career right now.
It matters the most.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the most impressive thing about the win on Saturday was that they were down like 7 or 8 with like 9 minutes left. I think they held. Not only did they go on like an amazing run to come back and win, obviously, but they held Tennessee to like 10 points in like 7 or 8 minutes of like game time. So they're playing hard. I think they kind of rallied around Juwan Howard. You kind of just like it's a lot of outside noise. I think they kind of rallied around that, and yeah, just very very impressive. I'm like how you are. I think we, definitely have a shot. More of a shot than people are giving us credit for, or think we have tomorrow playing Villanova. So it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, no, I second a lot of things you said. It's really the roller coaster of our season. We started the season top 5, definitely top 10 in the country.
Yep.
Came out the gate really stumbling right from rip. And it's one of those things where I was like, oh, I had an excuse for us the entire time. We were young. We needed to figure it out. Our point guard was new. We just can't shoot. So whatever the case is, but we're finding ways to grind it out and have had a lot of impressive victories over the last 6 weeks. We've had some bad losses too, lost some leads, whatever. But we've had some put together some very nice victories against quality opponents, even opponents within the Big Ten, as well as some that went throughout this tournament. That Tennessee team was a good team. Even the Colorado State team, they look pretty formidable as well. They would have beat a lot of teams. So I don't think we've gotten like a sleepy schedule throughout. We've gotten some teams that have firepower as well, but we found ways to overcome. I think we obviously have to feed the ball to Dickinson. That is, our main course, one of our bread and butters. But also, we need to take the time to open it up more, run when we have the opportunity,
Yeah,
play. Let some of our um, athletes be athletes against some of these other teams. Whether that's Caleb Houston, just let him get a little loose on a one-on-one, trying to find a way to get him to jumpstart him getting going.
yeah,
He's been a player that throughout the last 2 weeks or weekend, I would say since the Big Ten tournament has kind of struggled. A player that if we can get him turned on at the right time, or if he can step up this upcoming game, then that's the additional firepower that we need to get past Villanova, who I did watch, and obviously they have a great program there too. We lost to them in the championship game in like what 2018, 2019. They're in it. They're in the mix every year as well. They have a great program. Uh,
yeah,
so obviously they're going to be a tough out as well. But I think with Dickinson, one of the best big men in the country, one of the best versatile big men in the country. One of the few guys that has some of the best size in the country, and but also can move. He's not a big slouch like the Purdue guy or Cockburn or Cockburn, whatever. He's not one of them type of guys. He's pretty light on his feet, can hit some jumpers. So I think uh, with him and with the rest of our pieces that we have, we just have to play our cards right again. And I think we can beat this team. I really do think that.
yep,
I'm looking forward to it. Across the board, there's lots of great games this weekend.
yeah.
I think we're on Thursday, I believe. So tomorrow, man, this weekend is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I think I was going to say, I think we tip off for we are the first game.
Hmm.
But if not, we're definitely on Thursday. And yeah, I just look forward to it. Look forward to a great weekend of basketball. And hopefully we're sitting here sharing, having
Yeah.
a phenomenal run continuing.
Right. Yeah, and I just want to add too, like Caleb Houston he had 0 points on Saturday.
Yeah. Yep. I think, yeah, that's
So
coming off a string of other, Rocky
right,
games. So,
and this is
maybe a time for him to put
step
one
up.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. I'm still kind of like just on it. I mean, it's probably like one of the best worst Michigan team. Like I think you know what I'm saying, like to where like you watch them because I mean they just the other turnovers. Diabate was missing a couple bunnies. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously that's like a part of the game, but it's just crazy to where you know everybody's looking at us as like this team that limped into the tournament, which we did. You know, probably shouldn't be there. Probably should be in the NIT instead. And then to just have like that, obviously like, it comes down to playing who's in front of you, and they, do what they had to do to get to where they're at. And still just the fact that like the inconsistency, you can still see it. It's still there. Obviously they're cleaning some things up, and I think they'll just continue to do so as as stuff goes on, as the tourney goes on, and if they're able to keep advancing. But man, I still don't think like I just hope that we kind of can have put together like one of them like Purdue at home type games or like Michigan State at home type games where we can just really beat down on somebody how we're like we're capable of doing.
Yes.
Like they just can't afford to start slow against how they did against Colorado State. Um, and when it comes to when they played against Tennessee, I just felt like they had a lot of issues with like turnovers.
Yeah.
And just not really playing the greatest defense to kind of start things off. So you got to come out the gate because, like you said, yeah, Villanova, a great team. They got Colin Gillespie, pretty much kind of the same uh, situation as Brooks, just like super senior. Seeing everything, done everything. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I think he was definitely one of those championship teams. I think
Brooks
he
might
played.
have been like a freshman on that team.
I think he was a freshman on that team, the team that won it all not too long ago. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to hopefully they go out here and at worst just compete, not lay an egg, and I think we definitely definitely think we have the opportunity to knock another team off and potentially get to the Elite Eight.
Agreed.
So
We can get on to the rest of the games. I kind of have a question, an odd question. Who does Frankie Collins remind you of? And I'm just going to throw out my pick from here. Is Rockman. I kind of feel like,
Oh, Abdul Rahman.
yeah,
Oh,
I kind of that I don't know. I just kind of I feel like I
yeah,
get flashes of him just kind of quick and get to the lane. Not a bad jumper, but more so wanted to get to the basket.
yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of is
Are
that's
we
kind of what I see as far as once he gets handed the show, what it might look like.
are we looking for like a Michigan comparison or just kind of like
I
compare?
no, this was thrown out. Well, that's what I thought of when I seen it the other day. But
Okay. Yeah. I don't know, man. Honestly, I kind of get. That's a tough one. You really put me on the spot with this one.
no, you don't got to do it. I just was thinking about it the other day during
Yeah, I
just
just want to take just try to see if I can come up with somebody for a couple of seconds. I mean, because I would say just from like a Michigan standpoint, I mean, he does kind of remind me of like Trey Burke. I mean, how kind of like how Trey Burke kind of came in, just looked like super ready to play. You know what I'm saying? Like just kind of like an immediate impact. Except Collins didn't get the immediate impact because he was, kind of having to sit and wait his turn because Jones came in, the transfer and everything, and kind of took the reins from there. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I definitely see a little bit of like Trey Burke in him. Kind of even too, not from like a defensive standpoint, but just the guy from Baylor last year, Davion Mitchell,
okay.
smaller guy, can get to the basket, pretty easily. I just look at Collins kind of just being like, just like tenacious. You know what I'm saying? Just like I don't know. I'm just impressed with him as a freshman, how he's just kind of come in and
Yeah, thrown into the fire.
not even, yeah. Like I don't really see him, turn over the ball that much. You know what I mean? Like he's just so in control. To really just be kind of playing. Like I don't. He wasn't really playing a ton to kind of start the year off either. So he's definitely stepped up in the perfect time though. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree. And just to kind of swing it out, open it up, one of the, I guess, the more formidable teams, probably the team that everybody's betting favorite to win this all be Gonzaga. They're freshman led with
yep,
Holcomb. I guess kind of what are your thoughts on what they did? What they look like. How do you feel about them? Or I
yeah,
guess we'll open it up. Who do you think is the favorite outside of
yeah,
um, uh,
yeah. I'm probably the biggest Gonzaga hater. Like I was telling a lot of people last weekend how I just, you know, one thing I've always kind of been curious with about them is like how did they get to where they are now? You know what I'm saying? So like, when I say that, it's kind of like in that like D1, like not like a mid major, but they're kind of. I mean, I feel like they kind of do play like a somewhat of a mid major conference. Like they're not really playing. I think the only other team, excuse me, that gets in, the tournament besides them out of that conference ends up being like St. Mary's,
right?
and they came in, beat Indiana pretty handedly, and then, got blown out by UCLA the next game. And Gonzaga lost to that team. So, I, for them, I guess I'm just not gonna be really impressed until they join the Pac-12. So that's just kind of like my 2 cents on them.
No, I'm
Um,
thinking all of that.
yeah, yeah. So, but I just think overall, man. I mean, I think I'm gonna stick to my bracket. I picked Arizona. They had a little bit of a scare, and and this is also a point I was gonna make. I feel like this is one of like the uh, most competitive tournaments I've seen. I feel not a ton of blowouts, first round,
Lots
and
of
then
energy, lots of
yeah, and
close.
watching that like that TCU Arizona game, like I'd say the Big 12, they're pretty formidable, pretty good, basketball conference. Pac-12, they're like up and down most year. They're top heavy. They're very, very
Yeah,
top heavy.
right.
But like, I don't know if you watched that game. That was like the last one of the weekend, like that Sunday night game. But that one was just like so intense. And sometimes people look at that kind of game and be like, oh well, they could barely beat a 9 seed. But I looked at it as like, that's just
Yeah,
level of play in this tournament. And I also kind of feel like some teams weren't seeded maybe as correctly as they should have been. I mean, the way North Carolina like was beaten down on Baylor, we all know if that dude Manic didn't get ejected, they probably would have ended up beating them by like 20,
I was
25.
shocked. I was shocked by that, to be honest.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I agree. That just
yep,
shows, like you said, the power of conferences. They sometimes they're diluted. No, and I second a lot of stuff you're saying about Gonzaga. For me, I just want to see, in particular, the things I'm watching for is see if the Holgram in particular can do that type of stuff versus more competitive competition. Uh,
yep.
um, they got Texas Tech, right? Um,
Because they play Arkansas.
Arkansas. I'm tripping.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I, want to see what they can do versus them boys. I want to see, what it looks like as a whole. And you asked where they came from, and I guess just the earliest memory I have of them would be like Adam Morrison. I
Hmm.
obviously they had a program prior to that, but that's the first time I remember them being like somewhat formidable, being hyped up. He was led the country in scoring, or maybe was second to JJ Redick, but he was right in the mix.
Yeah,
Um, him crying on the floor in the Sweet 16. I think
yeah,
that's the first memory I really have of them. And then since then, they've just kind of slowly eased and dripped into mainstream. And
right.
I personally do think, and they're kind of taking like the Duke mantle. That's kind of I feel like their claim to fame. The Timmy guy reminds me of some old Duke player. That reminds me of
Got a lot of Leitner in them.
yeah, just those type of guys that you absolutely hate them if they're not on your team,
Right.
and they're the media darlings. So
Hmm.
obviously Holmgren's probably a one and done. They're starting to get those type of mix. Last year with Jalen Suggs,
Yeah.
but I think that's kind of the ilk that they're going for, if you know what I'm saying. So
Yep.
I think they wouldn't get they wouldn't give that type of praise to or benefits to a lot of teams playing that week of a schedule. And
Right. Because I
if
think about it like
you
this,
drop
like,
if you drop a Michigan in that conference, yeah, we'll probably rattle off 25 wins too. You
yeah,
drop any of the big boys from Big Ten, Michigan State,
right.
Wisconsin, Purdue, they all rack up close to 25, 30 wins. So
Yeah.
I
And
did.
some people try to like argue that and be like, well, 'cause they did. I think they lost to Duke. They ended up beating Texas Tech and UCLA, but this was like in November. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of teams, like teams don't even know who they are quite yet.
Yep.
You know, and it's always going to hit different when you're playing that type of schedule, but then you got to go into the Big 12 and play a Big 12 schedule. You got to play a Big 10 schedule or like a, Pac 12, ACC type schedule.
Yep.
I mean, we've seen so many times how many, like, I think one time, like one year, like Michigan, they started off like, what, like 17 and 0. And then you kind of run through that buzzsaw to where it kind of, like the gauntlet, getting to that like real heavy conference play to where, you go from being 17 and 0 to like, 20 and 5, or you know what I'm saying, to where I feel like they're not really getting tested like that. And I think my biggest issue with it is that, we watch like, Baylor do what Baylor, great team playing in the Pac,
Kansas that last
Big
year.
12. Yeah, Kansas, and you had all these other, teams that, Arizona. But then, like, when you give a team like a Zag number one overall seed, they're basically playing like the worst team in the whole tournament, like the first weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I just think like they obviously will get like somewhat of the easiest path to
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
get
let's
there.
let's pose the question this. Obviously, we're just throwing it out there, but we've seen how hot that North Carolina team is. What if they would have had to play North Carolina the second round? You know,
Yeah,
they might be sitting at home right now.
yeah. Because I would say
That's a big difference between playing Memphis, um, you know, not as established program, probably not.
and still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, still trying to figure it out. One of their best players is 17. He's not even playing. He's,
Yep.
and all. That's a major difference between North Carolina powerhouse, who would love to knock off a number one seed, just because they're mad they're 8. So I
Yeah.
think that's two major different competition there, and they might be sitting at home right now, very so. So it's
Yeah.
just a major. Uh,
Yeah. And I
major
even think too, like, and yeah, I mean, they do their thing, but I was talking with some, people this past weekend. I'm just kind of like, we kind of decided to ask each other. Somebody asked a question like, you know, how many times they made it to like the national championship or just even like the Elite Eight. And I think they only made the national championship like twice since like '99. And then they've been bouncing to Sweet 16 probably like 7 or 8 different times, or like second round, a good amount of times. Like, it's like they're getting the easiest road in most situations. And they're still kind of struggling to, kind of have that dominant. And I know it's a tournament, you know what I'm saying? Like, things happen. It's obvious when them things win or go home. You come out having a bad night, you probably gonna end up going home. I completely understand all that type of stuff. I don't see how they kind of get the, you know, how they kind of end up getting that type of seed and not even playing anywhere near, a conference schedule that all the other teams that are one seeds end up having to play. So I guess that's just kind of where I'm at on it. But hey, they play Arkansas. Arkansas is a really good SEC team. They come out and blow them out by 20, 25, or, like dominate them. Might kind of shut them up a little bit. Probably won't. But, I guess at this point, it's like prove me wrong and win it all. And, you know, but I still feel like they just need to go ahead and join Pac-12. And I think for their recruiting standpoint, you know what I'm saying? Like it's different when you're going into a kid's room or house with their parents and you're telling them, hey, yeah, you could be playing like UST, UCLA back-to-back nights, or we're gonna be playing in Arizona, like we're trying to kind of be one of them blue bloods of the West Coast, like some of these schools are already. Instead of just like, oh yeah, you might play against St. Mary's in this little ass gym,
Yeah,
you
this
know,
be
like
on TV
yeah, like
every damn night, basically. Yeah,
right. So I just think that I mean, obviously they top dog in their conference, probably getting a load of money, just graded in anyways because they are top dog in their conference. But I feel like it couldn't do anything but help them from a just coming one of those like you said, maybe like the next Duke if they were to join the Pac-12 and start maybe dominating the Pac-12
yeah.
if they are, what I'm saying. So there's opportunity out there. That's how I look at it for them. It's just opportunity to try to get to that next level.
No, I agree. Is any other teams? So you said you picked Arizona.
Yep.
You're riding with them.
Yeah, I think them. I mean, Kansas. I'm not. They've kind of been pretty inconsistent in the tournament. That's more just on Bill Self. And then obviously not really having his team ready to play.
Right.
I do. I like how Arkansas. I mean, I like how they they play pretty good defense. Texas Tech.
Yeah.
They got Duke. I
Yeah.
I expect them to.
I think that's gonna be a great game. I really
Yeah,
do. I think that's gonna be. I
I
was
think they're gonna win.
Banchero. I just think his game is
Van Carroll.
Banchero. What is it?
Call a restaurant. Call up there. Panchero.
Chipotle? Yeah. No, no. So I just think looking at his game is very well rounded. Kind of like I would say he's very skilled. Kind of obviously he's bigger, but like I would say like a Jason Tatum type of skill where he knows where to situate
Right.
himself on the court, how to use his body as leverage. I was watching
Yeah.
that between that and highlights. He's very impressive. So
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards the Pistons, maybe if he's available too, just as a side note. But I think they're going to be a tough out. Obviously, Duke always is, but no, I watched that Texas Tech team. I mean, they're playing good
Physical.
ball there. Yeah, they're physical. I remember Michigan ran into them a couple years ago. They were extremely tough. Like
Yeah.
they played like a form of bully ball. They play. So I don't know what they're doing up there in Levitt, but it's working. So I think
Oh.
yeah,
And they
that's
just lost their
great.
coach to Texas. They lost their coach to Texas. Basically had to like get
Mm,
all these like transfers come in and everything. And yeah, I mean, where he was able to squeeze out being a 3 seed or 4 seed, that next year. And yeah, it ended up like beating Texas, beating their former coach, beating Texas, sweeping them during the regular season. And yeah, so I'm very impressed with them too. But yeah, all in all, it's gonna be it's gonna be some really good ball. And one thing I kind of just wanted to circle back to that we didn't get a chance to cover, just going to Michigan was you know just how to make you feel to kind of see the Fab Five, supporting Juwan. I watched an interview this week, Rich Eisen with Chris Webber. Sounds like Chris might be kind of trying to like work his way back,
right.
on campus and stuff, and just trying to be more involved. I mean, I can't think of anything but that, just kind of just helping us out from a recruiting standpoint. If we can kind of find a way to have these guys around the team and, I mean, I'd say have Chris Webber call the best power forward in the country or have Jalen Rose reaching out to the best wing in the country, coming out of high school. What are your thoughts on just like, what Juwan Howard is kind of starting to build his legacy and how, how you think it can be kind of going forward?
Yeah, so I think it's amazing to see them around. As a person who's grew up watching Michigan basketball my whole life, that's always kind of been a thorn. Is that just how sour that relationship was between the university and members of the Fab Five, and
Yeah.
in particular of that Chris Webber.
Yep.
Webber felt like he was kind of
Fun.
just shunned, kicked out of the team, not the team, but kicked out of like the fun party. He's not in anymore, and
Right.
um, I don't think I think he was the only one that didn't show up in 2013 with Trey Burke in the championship. I don't think he was at that game. I think, Jimmy King did, Ray Jackson, obviously Jalen Rose always carried the Michigan flag. And I think
Yep.
he's the one guy that did. So, just for that to become full circle, seeing the video of him in the locker room where, he's, his voice is hazy or raspy and he's excited. He's probably the first Michigan, I don't know this for sure, probably the first Michigan game he's been to in a while. And so you could tell that he got back into it quickly, and it is good to
Hmm.
see. It's only going to help when he is on. Is he on TNT? He's on.
I don't think he's with TNT anymore,
Yeah,
but
but he's doing games probably weekly on national television. Jalen Rose has 5 shows on ESPN. He's on there all day.
yeah.
So I think it's only going to help the brand, the image, the the accessibility, just all of that, and especially where we're headed in basketball now. That's what it's all about
Hmm.
with these brand deals, and if you can know that you're going to be embraced by a major network of successful people and what
Yeah.
all comes with outside of me. I might not make it to the NBA, but I know that I could call Chris Webber and maybe get an internship here, or I could
Hmm.
call Jalen Rose and maybe get this, or hey, I have 10 years after basketball and I have a documentary coming out. I know I can call Jalen and he's going to let me pub that on his show for 10 minutes or 5 minutes.
Yep.
So those are the type of things that I think that you need to embrace, and that's something that Juwan Howard has done, or fostered, I should say, within the program, and also for him to come in so hot. His first year, COVID year, so that didn't count as far as tournament. But I do think we were getting hot at the right time his first year.
Yep.
That second year, we lost in the Elite Eight. We lost Livers the week before the tournament started. Best player probably would have been in the Final Four, bare minimum,
Yeah.
if we had him.
Yeah.
Um, And then this year, Sweet 16. Obviously, we started expectations started out here, but if you would have polled us in mid-February and asked if we were being Sweet 16, we probably would have both said no. So
Yep.
I think altogether he's pulled together and harnessed just a great season. So I just think we have a lot to look forward to. I was even looking at recruiting. There's a lot to be excited about within that as well.
Yeah.
We might have one of the Ball brothers on our team, the youngest one. So we're in his top three. It's like 2024, and that was something I was like, man, we're one of those things where I can
What, brother?
see is it a Bull. His name is John Bull.
Oh. Oh. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah. Sorry.
yeah,
Keep going.
he's like the 27th ranked player in his class, number like 2 center.
Okay.
Just I can see his vision. We're always going to keep a solid, athletic big man.
Yep.
We're going to keep athletes around them, and
Hmm.
hopefully we get some shooting down a little better. But I can
Yep.
definitely see the vision of what we have here, and it's nothing but excitement for me as far as where we are and where we're headed.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, we'll be wrapping up with this, but yeah, if you just hit on the head. I mean, if you would have asked us, we'd be in a Sweet 16, month and a half ago, would have said definitely not. Probably would have thought it might have been an NIT. But yeah, I mean, I'll take whatever, regardless of what happens tomorrow. I mean, I'll take it as being, quote unquote, one of the best 16 teams in the country, end of the season. So I'm
Yeah.
optimistic about tomorrow night, and we'll see what happens.
You got anything else?
That's all, man. Go blue, beat Nova.
Go blue.